This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. As we prepare for Parshas Beshalach, Shabbos Shira, well, as an introduction to Kriyas Yamsuf, the pasuk says, "Vayasev Elokim es ha'am." Hashem diverted the people derech hamidbar, through the desert, Yamsuf, to the Yamsuf. Vachamushim. Olu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Vachamushim. That is a very important word that we're going to discuss. Here, take that one of those sheets. That is a very important word that we're going to discuss, the word vachamushim. What does the word vachamushim mean? Rashi translates it armed, vachamushin, armed. However, Rashi translates it, they came armed. However, we know the word vachamushim, the root of the word is chamesh, 5. So the Targum Yonasan and Uziel has a very curious explanation. He says, "V'chol chad," and every yid, im chamsha tafla, with 5 children, seliku b'nei Yisrael, the b'nei Yisrael went me'ara de Mitzrayim. Says Targum Yonasan and Uziel, every Jew left with 5 kids. Not in America. In America, it's right 1.2 per family. No, in Egypt, what was it? 5 children per family. That's an interesting number, 5 children per family. I thought, Bnei Yisrael paru vayishrutzu, they gave birth shisha b'keres echad, 6 in one womb. So where does this number come from? That each family had 5 children. What's the significance of it? How's that even possible? Everybody had 5. That's not possible. I mean, you could have 10 families. The likelihood of them all having the same number of children is nil. How could every Jew have 5 families? What kind of miracle is that? Now, the pasuk says in Parshas, "Vayisu b'nei Yisrael me'Ramses Sukaisa, k'sheish me'os elef ragli hagavarim levad mitaf." Comes Targum Yonasan and Uziel, and on the pasuk in Parshas Boy, that Bnei Yisrael traveled from Ramses, 600,000 besides the children. It says Targum Yonasan and Uziel, keshit mea alfin govraya bar mitafla chamsha l'chol gavra. Every man took 5 children. Again, no chamal. The Targum Yonasan and Uziel makes the point that every Jew left with 5 children. I don't know. Anything could be. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Targum Yishalmi says that a different translation of the word vachamushim. Targum Yishalmi says mezainin be'uvda tava, armed with maisim tovim, seliku b'nei Yisrael. The b'nei Yisrael left perikin me'ara de Mitzrayim. So while the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says v'chol chad v'chad im chamsha tafla sliku b'nei Yisrael, the Targum Yerushalmi learns they came out with good deeds, armed with good deeds. Armed with good deeds. What good deeds? They didn't have any good deeds. In fact, the Navi Yecheskel says v'at eiroim ve'eria, they were naked and bare of masim tovim. They didn't have any mitzvahs. Rebbe Hashem had to give us the mitzvah of v'avar alayich v'arech mitzvahs v'damayich v'omer lach v'mayich chayiv dam mila and dam pesach. So what does the Targum Yishalmi mean? That they left Mitzrayim loaded with good deeds. They didn't have any good deeds. Yeah, you want to ask something?
This is the
armed.
This is the
weapons.
This is the Yohel.
Okay, so the Be'er Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Tzvi Salant, in his classic work on Chumash, Be'er Yosef, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach was a very big fan of the Sefer Be'er Yosef, the Drushim of Be'er Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Tzvi Salant. In fact, a very kind gentleman from Norfolk, Virginia, Gedalia Schwartz, recently sent me a copy of the Be'er Yosef. And he has an amazing explanation to try to reconcile Targum Yonasan and Uziel and the Targum Yerushalmi, as well as Rashi. What does it mean? Well, let's begin. Mashapirish betargum Yonasan kanu Parshas boy. Tamua hadavar ma'od. It's a wonder. Every family had 5 kids. Every Jew between 20 and 60 had the same number of children. I mean, that's odd, unless that's just odd, right? What ma'asim tovim do they have? Take of b'yitzias mitzrayim. V'haloi al yoim esmol yoim arba asar b'nisan. The day before, one day earlier, what does it say about these guys? Namar aleim v'ad Aaron v'Arya hainu shloihoy lehem shum mitzvos l'sasek v'hem k'dei sheyigalu v'chinasan lehem elu shtei mitzvos dam pes v'dam milah, like it says in the Cholta that it's going to be in Mishmaris until the 14th. I have one question. Here you have a guy. Yesterday, you look in his spiritual bank account, he's in overdraft. He has nothing. He doesn't even have checking plus. You look at his account, nothing. He's Aaron area. And the next day, he's loaded up with mitzvahs. What kind of loaded up with mitzvahs? How many mitzvahs could they have done in one day? The answer is like this. There's another Pshat in Chamushim. What does Rashi say Pshat in Chamushim is? Rashi brings down a medrash. 1 of 5 left Mitzrayim, which means 80% of the people did not make it. 80% of the people did not make it. One day, Chas Hashem, they may say in America also, V'chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael may America. Why? Because right now, the intermarriage rate is much more than 50% in this country. We're nearing the Chamushim. If I'm not mistaken, it's 7 out of 10. We're almost up to the Chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael. What can we do? I read on a fly, said the Geula La'asalavai will mirror Yitzias Mitzrayim. Chamushim alu b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Well, Rashi says, Echad michamisha olav yabar chalaka mesu b'shloshas yemei afela, on the 3 days of darkness. What the 3 days of darkness will be, I don't know. The darkness of America, we all know what that is. We all know what Makas Choshech is. The spiritual Makas Choshech here. Says the Bar Yosef, "Hainu shall you be Yisrael, but Oisei Adar Risham shall Hayroitzim Leisa." There were wicked people who didn't want to go. Umeisi b'Shloshas Yemei Afela. They died in the 3 days of darkness, like Rashi brings down in Parshas Bay. Now, says the Bar Yosef, I have a question for you. If 80% of the Jewish people perished in Mitzrayim, why? Because they didn't want to leave. What about their kids? Did they also perish? They're not responsible for their parents' sin. So it's reasonable to assume that even though 80% of the men between 20 and 60 died, the kids were all around. That means there were a lot of Yisayimim. That means 80% of the children of Israel did not have fathers. That means of every 5 kids around, 4 out of 5 were Yisayimim, and 1 out of 5 had a father. Says the Bar Yosef, these little kids, what do they do? 4 out of every 5 kids were orphans. Now, what happened to those orphans? Are they still in Egypt today? It says, every last Jew left. Not one kid left behind them. All these kids, the kids of the 4/5 that died, who was responsible to take them out of Mitzrayim? The adults between 20 and the 20%. They did, they took them. That means every father, aside from his own kid, adopted another 4 children. Adopted another 4 children. V'helo oisam yachad. He took them together. Imam b'tseisam mi'Mitzrayim. V'hainu shekol echad miYisrael lakach imay. Every Jew took with him milvad taflu ubnei beisay shalai. Besides his own children, another 4 families of kids that their parents died. In other words, 20% of the children had fathers, 20% of the people were alive, 80% were not alive. That means it was up to the 20% for every kid they had to adopt, right? Adopt a koilel. Before adopt a koilel, adopt a kid. You know, they had signs in every shul. Adopt a kid. And every father took 4 children aside his own kid.
So why isn't it 5 though?
Another per kid, 4 children.
For each of his kids, he took 4 more.
Right.
But soon to be 5?
No.
Chamushim. Then
1/5 is alive. 4/5 died. So each father that had a boy, he said, I'll take another 4. One mine and one for the 4/5 that don't have the father. Not 5, 4. 4/5 didn't have parents.
But they each one had more than one child.
It's per kid, you took another 4 kids.
Okay.
Per kid, you took another 4 kids.
I got it. Okay.
This is what it means when Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says, each one with 5 children went out of Mitzrayim. And what he says in Parshas Boy, bar from the children, 5 for each man. It doesn't mean each man took 5 kids. You know what it means? Shekol echad ve'echad mi Yisrael halach im chamisha tafla. Hainu im chamish mishpacha shel yeladim. 5 families of kids. That means like this. 5 families. In other words, if I have 1 kid, so I'll take another 4. If I have 2 kids, I'll take another 8. But I'm taking my family of kids and another 4 families of kids. Depending on how big in other words, the ratio works out 1 plus 4. Okay? Shemalvad taflu b'nei beisai. Besides his own kids, he took 4 other families. What do you mean? It's the same thing.
No, maybe that family has 10 kids.
No. So it's the same thing. If I have 1 kid, then I'll take 4 families. It doesn't have to be that. I'll take 4 families of 1 kid. If I have 2 kids, I'll take 4 families of 2 kids. If I have 3 kids, I'll take someone who can handle 10 kids. Maybe he knows how to do the 10. Everyone has to do 4 times more than they're able to, right? So you have 10 kids, you take another 40. What's another 40? Some people they have 10 kids, and you see them walking down the street. Each one of them is dressed immaculately with the bow and the hair, right? How do they do it? And so they know how to do it with 10 kids. They'll take another 40. What's another 40?
That's right.
Some people, they can't even take care of 1 kid, right? Depends. Anyway, Lefi hadrash, according to this drush, of achamushim alu bnei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim. According to this drush, why is the Torah telling me now how many kids people took out of Mitzrayim? What's a census? It's giving you a number. Why do we need to know at this juncture how many kids they took out of Mitzrayim? It should be in Parshas Boy. Should be Yisumei Ramses Kishesh Meos Elef Ragli. There it should say v'chamushim. There it should say 1 out of 5 came out. But now, now we're just giving you the travel itinerary, and it's not telling you the numbers. In other words, in Parshas Boy, where it's giving you the numbers, so I want to know the numbers that only 1/5 came out. But now we're giving you the travel plans. Why do I need to know 1/5 came out? Look in the next packet. Here, the Torah is trying to tell us something very important. Lefarseim bazeh es tzidkas b'nei Yisrael v'chazdam. The Torah is teaching me and being mefarsim and publicizing the righteousness of the Jewish people. What was that? Sha'asum yaldei achiyam shemesu mitzrayim, that they did with their other children that they died in Mitzrayim. V'hu shemiderach ha'olam, it is a derech of the world. Kishamishpacha hoyleches l'tayel im yiladehem. When you go on a trip, right, we're in midwinter vacation now. I just moved to a community. It's going to be a big vacation for me on Shabbos. Why? Because hopefully we'll have a minyan on Shabbos. Everybody's on vacation, right? When you go on vacation, you say, you tell your wife, hey, you know what? While we're taking our 8 kids, well, we'll take another.
You don't say 80, my wife.
I didn't say it to your wife.
You don't say 80.
Right? You say, instead of we're taking our 8 kids, let's just take another 70 just along the. When you go on vacation, you don't take other children with you. It's enough your own kids, right? Once in a while, if you have Rachmanis, you say, you know what? Yeah, the kid over there in your class, he doesn't have a parent. Why don't we schlep him along? But nobody would say to their kids, you know, you have 6 Yisayimim in your school. Why don't we bring them along on midwinter vacation? Nobody does that. Especially, imagine if somebody was being chased out of Spain in 1492. They don't know where they're going to live. They don't know where they're going to eat. Let's take along another family. It's hard enough to worry about your own family. Especially when you're going in the desert. You have no clue where you're going. You're not going to take a stranger with you. Enough to worry about your own kids. Here the Torah is revealing to us the kindness of the Jewish people. They were going on a long journey. They were going through the Midbar. They had no food. It's Eretz Lo Zarua. They had no mayim. They had no lechem. But even so, even though they had no idea where the next meal is going to come from, every Jewish family took another 4 mishpachos together with them. They were not only mefarnes and worried about their own family, worried about the families of 4 of their friends. Now, the Torah says, only 1 out of 5 left. Memela, 4/5 were left as Yisayimim. This was a tremendous chesed that they did with their brothers who perished. So that's why Targum Yonasan ben Uziel says, Bachamushim, why is the Torah telling me 1 out of... In other words, Targum Yonasan ben Uziel is bothered by a question. The question is, Rashi brings down the drush of Bachamushim 1 out of 5. Targum Yonasan is very bothered by a question. This is not the place to give you numbers. Parshas Boy was telling you how many Jews left Mitzrayim. Parshas Beshalach is just telling you the route they took. So if it's just telling you the route they took, why do I need to know 1 out of 5? Says Targum Yonasan, it's not to tell you numbers, it's to tell you their kindness. Kol chad v'chad im chamsha tafla slikum b'nei Yisrael me'adim Mitzrayim. Each Jew took another 4 families, his own chelek and 4 chalakim of his brothers. And therefore, l'chein be'emes kan, over here, when the Torah is telling you that they went derech hamidbar Yamsuf, this is the place to tell you the greatness of the Jewish people, that they took with them not only their own children, but the children of their brothers who had perished. And this is the meaning of Targum Yushalmi. Targum Yushalmi says they left Mitzrayim mizdainin, ba'uvda tava, loaded up with good deeds. Good deeds. Yesterday they had not 1 mitzvah in their account. Yesterday they were bankrupt. They were Eroim be'area. What were the good deeds? The good deeds of worrying not only about their own family, but the tzedakah of a chesed that they did to the 4 other families that they brought out of Mitzrayim with them. This is the meaning of Targum Yushalmi. Mezayinin ba'oivdada tava suliku b'nei Yisrael mayara de Mitzrayim, the masim tovim that they took with them when they left Mitzrayim. Nimsa, says the Bar Yosef, that the drash of the Mechilta of 1 out of 5, and the Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, 5 families, and the Targum Yushalmi that they left with Masim Tovim, it's all one pshat. The drush of the Mechilta, Targum Yonasan ben Uziel, Targum Yushalmi, it's all one pshat. In other words, Vachamushim, because 1 out of 5 left Mitzrayim, then Vachamushim, therefore, then Kolchad v'chad im chamsha tafla slika me'adim Mitzrayim, and because Kolchad v'chad im tafla chamsha tafla slika me'adim Mitzrayim, therefore, Targum Yushalmi says, Mezayinin ba'ivada tava, they left with good deeds. So the 3 pshatim on the Torah Shabbat Peh, it's not just Elu ve'elu divrei lekim chayim. They all are making the same point. In other words, you could look at this incident and you say, how could you have 3 disparate pshatim in the same word? You have a word vachamushim. Does v'chamusha mean 1 out of 5? Does v'chamusha mean each person took 5 kids? Or does v'chamusha mean they left with masam tovim? The answer is, it means all 3 together. And each one complements the next. Number 1, v'chamushim echad mechamesh, 1 out of 5 left Mitzrayim. And because of that, kol chad v'chad im chamsha tafla sliku b'nei Yisrael me'arad Mitzrayim. And because of that, mezainin b'ivada tava. And there it says Bar Yosef, all these pshatim kulam oilim b'kana echad. Because 1 out of 5 left, therefore they took 5 children. Therefore they left with masim tovim.
That's why they also left armed. They have more responsibility.
Okay. Right, it's, they have to left arm to take care of all those kids. You gotta, Okay. So, says the Bar Yosef, he concludes, a chacham told him, this could be another pshat. Kaya amar Hashem, zacharti la chesed yirayach. I remember the kindness you did in your youth. Not only the kindness you did to me, Hashem says, that you followed me, but the kindness you did to the other Yidden. And, as we alluded to before, that Mitzrayim is the pre-enactment. Mitzrayim is the template with which Rebbe Hashem will bring the Gula Achroina. And just like Hashem redeemed us from Mitzrayim, when we were not just worried about our own children, but we were worried about the children of those who perished, so too in our generation, the Ikvasa de Mashiach, the Geula will come when we take responsibility not only for our own children who are zoichet to learn in yeshivas, or are zoichet to have a Jewish education, but unfortunately it's echad mechamesh. In this country, it's not even echad mechamesh. What percent of Jews in this country know what it means to be a Jew? Not even 1 out of 10. Not even 1 out of 10 Yiddish kindlech know Shema Yisrael in this country. Not even 1 out of 10 Jewish children in this country know that there is something called Shema Yisrael. And it's our responsibility not only to worry about our own children, but to worry about Kol Chad V'Chad Im Chamsha, Tafla, Saliku, B'nai Yisrael, Me'ara, to Mitzrayim. Okay, so this is a magnificent shot of the Bar Yosef. Let me give you one more offering for the day. The pshat of the Shem Yishmor on the Az Yashir, one of my favorite all-time Vartlach. It says the Shem Yishmor. Shem Yishmor was the son of the Avnei Nezer, the Rebbes of Sachachav. On the words Az Yashir, then he sang. Really, then? You're kidding me. I don't know he did then. I thought he did it a different time. I mean, I just want to tell you a big chiddush. Whenever you do something, it's then. You can't do anything not then. Let's say you drank coffee. Then he drank the coffee.
I have more difficulty with the fact that it's the future tense. As Yoshir in the future.
No, good question also.
Okay.
Also, give him credit.
All right.
That's also a good question. He could finish the rest of the coffee. Uz is past, then. Yashir, he will sing. It should say Az Shar, then he sang in the past tense. Well, it's a contradiction. It should say Az Shar. So Rashi says the following. Az then, Kishara Hanes, when he saw the miracle, Allah Beliba, it arose in his heart, Shey Yashir, to sing. In other words, Az Yashir means when he saw the miracle, it entered his mind that he should sing. Now, what's Rashi adding exactly? Was Rashi saying that before they sang Shira, they decided to sing Shira? You're kidding me. I thought they sang Shira without deciding to. Whenever you do something, before you do it, guess what you do? You decide to do it. Right? You can't do anything without first deciding to do it. So what is Rashi adding by saying, then when he saw the miracle, they decided to sing Shira? Why is Rashi saying it entered their heart to sing Shira? Obviously it entered their heart. Az Yashir was not just a song. It was a prophetic song. It was prophecy. You have 600,000 Yidden singing the same song. How's that possible? If I were to ask you right now, summarize in one sentence the first Dvar Torah of the Bar Yosef. I could ask everyone here, nobody's going to say the same exact words. I could have 1,000 people say, summarize in 20 words what I just said. Nobody's going to say the same thing. I could guarantee, I'll bet on it. How could, here as Yashir is a song of many, many words, how could every single Jew simultaneously say the same prophecy? So you say, well, because it's a nevuah, it's from Hashem. Yeah, but there's a rule, Ein shnei neviim misnaveim b'signoin echad. You cannot have two prophets prophesying in the same style. Yeshaya prophesied one way, Yecheskel prophesied a different way, Yirmiyah prophesied. So if you have Ein Shnei Neviim Misnavim B'Signoin Echad, Kavachomer ben Benoishel Kavachomer Ein Shishem Riboy Misnavim B'Signoin Echad. There's no way 60,000 Jews are going to say the same prophecy. How did every single Jew say Oz, Yashir, Moshe, Uvenei? It's like, wow. How do you think of that at the same time as me? Right? The Gemara says that by the Septuagint, when they put the 70 Chachamim in the same room and they broke it up into 70 changes, it was a miracle that they all translated it the same way. 600,000 Jews, Yemincha, Hashem, Nedari, Bakoyach, wow, how are we doing this? Another question. The Gemara in Masechta Bracha says on Daf Nun, Afilu ubarin shabemei iman amru shira. That even little embryos in their mother's womb sang the shira. Well, how do you sing shira if you're in your mother's womb? You can't talk if you're in your mother's womb. So you say, come on, it's nevuah. What are you talking about? The Rashi in Sefer Amos, Parak Zayin, says, Amos, the Navi Amos, was a real litvak. He could not say the letter shin. Amos, the Navi Amos, could not pronounce a shin. Everything was sin.
His name is really Amos.
His name was Amos. And he made it a sin. He was almost Bolshainai. I don't know if his name was. And that's why in his Nevuah, he was supposed to say Boileish, and instead he said Boileis. It's real, from Lita, right? So what do you see from there? But he's a Navi! Don't Naviim speak well? At the end of the day, you need to have a mouth. The Nevuah could come in, but you have to have Klei HaDibur. So how could embryos say Nevuah? They don't have a mouth. Their mouth is sealed closed. How could they sing Shira? Says the Shem Yishmael an amazing thing. Wow. Chazal tell us, Kol HaNaviim Misnaveim B'Kai, Moshe Rabbeinu Misnave B'Zeh. All Naviim said, Koi Amar Hashem. This is basically what God says. And Moshe Rabbeinu said, Zeh HaDavar in Parshas Matos. This is what Hashem says. What's the difference? Moshe Rabbeinu prophesied Basbaklaria HaMe'ira, absolutely crystal clear Nevuah. So he said, Zeh. All the other Neviim was Asbaklaria She'ena Me'ira. And therefore, he prophesied with Kai. All the other Nevi'im prophesied with Kai. It wasn't crystal clear. Moshe Rabbeinu prophesied with Zeh. And by the way, there's a difference between Nevi'im Rishonim and Nevi'im Achronim. Nevi'im Rishonim was Me'ira, Shebe'ena Me'ira. The brighter of the not bright. Nevi'im Achronim was Eina Me'ira, Shebe'ena Me'ira. The cloudy of the cloudy. The Gra in the beginning of Parak Aleph Pasuk Aleph of Yeshaya talks about this. But all Nevi'im were Misnave B'Kai. Moshe Rabbeinu was Navi B'Zeh. Moshe Rabbeinu's Nevuah was crystal clear. I have a question. Moshe Rabbeinu was Kvad Peh, Kvad Lashon. How did he teach? How did he give Shiur? When Moshe Rabbeinu came to teach Torah, where he stood there stammering and mammering, right? Sometimes, unfortunately, people have a speech defect. It's very hard to listen to them, even for a minute. How could Moshe Rabbeinu give Shiur for hours and hours and hours and hours if he was Kvad Peh, Kvad Lashon? The answer is, it wasn't his mouth. It was Asbaklari HaMe'ira. It was what we call Shechina Medaberes Mitoch Groino Shel Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu opened up his mouth, and God spoke out of his voice box. So even though Moshe stammered, but now when he taught Torah, it was crystal clear. It's Zeh HaDavar, Hashem speaking out of his voice box. Says the Shem Yishmael, When Bnei Yisrael saw Rebbeinu Shem on the Yam Suf and they sang Shira, it wasn't Asbaklar She'enu Meira. Aziv Zimras Kav Ayihili Lishua Zekeli V'Yanveyu Elekei Aviv Aroy Mimenu Zekeli. This, it was the level of Nevuah of Moshe Rabbeinu. It was Asbaklar Yamira. It was Shechina Midaberes Mitoch Groinam. God put the Shira and spoke out of their voice boxes like Moshe Rabbeinu. Zeh. That's how every single Jew could say the same prophecy. It wasn't Hashem telling them in the Nevuah and they have to repeat it in their own words like Yeshaya, Yirmiyah, and Yechezkel. Ko Yomar Hashem. It was Zeh Kei V'Yanveyu. Hashem spoke out of each one of their mouths. That's how each one of them was able to say the exact same Nevuah. That's how even in Ubar b'nei Imai could sing Shira, like Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have the proper Klei HaDibur either, and yet he was able to speak fluently because Hashem was speaking out of their voice box. That's how Afilu Ubar b'nei Imai were able to sing Shira. So now we're bothered by Kasha. If Hashem basically opened up their mouth like a puppet and spoke out of their throats, then why do we credit Klal Yisrael for singing the Shira? They didn't do anything. They were just there, and Hashem took one string and yanked the top of their jaw open, and the bottom string the other, and spoke out. They didn't do anything. They did. What did they do? They decided to sing Shira. That's why the introduction to the Shira is Oz. When they saw the miracle, they decided to sing Shira. Of course they decided to. Whenever you do anything, you decide. No. The chiddush over here is, since they didn't really do anything because Hashem was speaking out of their voice box, why is this called the Shira of the Bnei Yisrael? This is Hashem Shira. The answer is no. That's why Rashi teaches us an amazing chiddush. Az kishara hanes, when they saw the miracle, Allah beliba shayashir, and entered their mind that they should sing. Rabbi, I wish you all a great Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.